So Ken, what's one of the top lessons? Like, what did you change your mind on in the past years? The biggest
Sure.
thing.
So I'll start with the business side because I think when you ask that question, the first thing that popped into mind is this. So I think way back in 2016, 2017, I think the in thing for us and maybe for a lot of small business owners at that time was the e-myth idea. And for context for the listeners, what the e-myth is that everything can be systematized, right? So you can think of something as quote unquote creative or complex, but all of that can be systematized and that can be served or that can be used rather as a basis for a future sale of the business. I've completely changed my mind on that. So I'm actually anti e-myth. So nowadays I'm more about people. So I'm all about finding the right people, finding people who have strong ownership, who have strong problem solving skills, who have strong logical thinking skills. And my role is to mainly feed their passion and really design a role for them that they can see themselves in the next 3 to 5 years. Because if they find a company who's willing enough to adjust and evolve with them, right? So really merge the personal career goals with the company goals. I think what happens with that formula is just a lot of magic. I think because people just put in, you know, there's just a lot of passion that comes out of it, and you get to see people do their best work. So I'm not a big systems guy anymore. I used to be like that. We still have systems within a company, so don't get me wrong. So we have frameworks, we have systems, we have processes, and all that. But the purpose of those systems and training material is just for training. So just for your first 12 weeks in the company, just to help you learn the fundamentals. But after that, it's really more about mentorship, empowerment, feeding people's passions, making sure I talk to them on a frequent enough basis, especially for the top folks. And I think over time, we've been very good in retaining our top talent for sure. Because I think when I started out, and I'm sure you remember the story where I had 70 or 80% attrition rate. So 80% of the people quit Monolith after 1 month because I was just a crazy guy. Um, Nowadays it's like the opposite, even better than the opposite. So in terms of people sticking around in a company, so much higher. People love working for Monolith now, and I think for me that's way more important than the systems thing. So I'm very anti-system now, at least in the way that people think about e-myth and all that. So how's that
Why
for?
why
Yeah.
why do you think there was a change in like your employee behavior?
um
Like why what was it in the beginning, and then
mhm.
that made them you have a high attrition, and then now is it just because you changed your thinking on systems?
I think it was also my general management style because I'm very demanding. So when there is a goal, it needs to be done. So I don't want to hear something like, "Oh, I can't do it" or anything like that. Like there's a goal, you need to make that goal happen. So that's just who I am as a person, and it works for people who have a clear motivation on what they want to get out of the company, and they kind of merge that motivation with my overall goal. So let's say that goal is to grow a certain amount or grow a client to a certain level. um, so that did work, at least when we were small enough, when we were about, let's say, 3 to 5 people max. And then I was pretty much the person who the client was talking to. So that worked really well for folks who were very early in the in the monolith world. But as we grew and as we had more people, as there were more layers that I had to manage, that just didn't work anymore because people will feel constrained, people will feel demotivated. And the thing is, if you put like too many systems and put it on their table, what happens is that, at least for the ones who are very self motivated in general, it actually constricts them because they want to try out new original ideas. They want to express themselves. They want, which they think are valid. They have their own theories. They have their own ideas, which you want to bring light to. And having a very strict system is it's something that kind of creates a culture within a company that tells them that, hey, you cannot be creative, you cannot problem solve, you cannot think independently, you have to follow the system. And while I did try to encourage them to be much more open, to be more creative, it just didn't work because at that time I kind of indirectly fostered a culture where no, it's all about the system, it's all about these rules. You have to follow these rules. So that didn't work for me, and as a result of that, and because of the attrition that I was experiencing at the time, I knew I had to make a change. And it wasn't instant, so it's not like, by tomorrow I was like, okay, we need to like feed people's passion, etc. It's something that I developed over time as I solve a lot of small people problems. And then over time, as I solve plenty of small people problems, that then evolve into this grander theory, which I'm talking about right now, which is you want to feed people's passion, empower them, just hire the right people, and then, they'll take care of themselves and the company, as it grows. So yeah, that's the context there.
I think that applies to any business, to be honest. Like not just like on the like internal hiring side or personnel
Yeah.
side, 'cause that's a resource, but also on the front end as well, like for sales, marketing, trying to generate revenue, things like that. That's one thing we realized. We spent 18 months, maybe about, no, yeah, 2 years nearly, where I was lucky, like I said, being like number three, I had a lot of influence on the direction that we were going in the region. And for me, like Ken, I was very data driven. I was like, all right, this is the funnel, we need to measure every single variable within the funnel and optimize, and we found that every time we would do really well top to middle of the funnel, but you get towards that portion where you need to be engaged with sales and it's a complex transaction, so face-to-face talking with the customer,
Right.
never worked to use a system, never worked. And so even though we had great numbers when it came to generating awareness, all of these like vanity metrics, like click-through rates, etc., like great, getting everyone to the page, getting lots of leads, can't close them with a system. They're really variable. They change from month to month. 1 month we'll be doing really well. Next month we'll be doing poorly. In the first year, I think we churned 30% of our workforce, or last year we did that, I think, 30% of our workforce, I think,
Yeah.
and it came down to, the fact that when you get to face-to-face conversations, that's an uncontrollable condition, like uncontrollable situation. You don't know
Right.
how the customer or the prospect is going to react. And I realized within myself, I'm not a strong people person. I stood back from that and said, look, like, here's a script. You can start with this, but like everything else, it's on you, and it came down to the right people, the people who are able to gauge, who are, a fit for our culture,
Definitely.
and, again, like as Ken said, they're aligned with our goals, like the right kind of customer. You know what I mean? The right way of acquiring customer, and also looking for the right kind of customer, so we can have like really good sort of like product customer fit, and not just going for anything that our system says, and
Right.
each person approached it in a different way, there's no way to systematize it, because everyone did their own thing. But we've had, 10 or 11 months of, successful, consistent growth,
Indeed.
So
Yeah.
it was just down to the salesperson, basically. Like,
I think it's the same with anything. It's kind of like there's a certain level of systems that you can implement for,
Yeah.
higher order tasks, but then when it comes down to kind of, as Ken was saying, like that interpersonal connection, you can't systematize that. You can't systematize, a relationship between Ken and, his developer, or Ken and his marketer, or like a customer to our salesperson, or myself to the customer. Like you can't systematize that, because I don't know how they're going to behave. I'm not going to put them in a box, because the first thing they'll do is kick the box open and go, get out of here.
Right.
Yeah, I think
that's
the
really interesting.
systematization.
Okay. Sorry, Khalil. It's
Like,
just really interesting because that now that you guys are talking about it, I do remember having a lot of conversations with you guys in terms of
Yeah.
like all these processes, these systems we wanted to put into place. I remember, what was that book? Built to Sell. Was it Built
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that book. I read that because of I think it was this group's
to Sell?
recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carlo
I
recommended
thought it
that.
was you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
It was
my
about the logo, right?
recommendation?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I love
haven't
that
read
book.
that
Don't
yet.
get me
Really?
wrong.
I was
I have-
gonna say it was
I
Ken's
have it with
recommendation,
me.
but was it mine?
It's there in the records. We could check it.
Yeah. I love that book. Don't get me wrong. I love that book. I still love it. It's just like an incomplete system or an incomplete idea, just to put it that way. So I
No, I
think
think
scaling
it
is more
works in a
than
certain context. So
yeah.
I think these systems, these rigid systems, were built for businesses which could have people who could work like a sort of low skilled work, like for instance restaurants or sorry,
Mm.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
right.
work that could be systematized. Because for instance, creative work or relationship work, it depends so much on the style of the person. Like you could just fit like a sales a way of doing sales. Either you hire a certain kind of person to do your kind of sales, or you get good people with good potential and let them sell the best way they know how. Or same thing with like for instance a creative solution, for instance a marketing campaign or something like that. So yeah, man, I'm glad to hear your
Yeah.
call it
But
new new
but I
style,
don't
Ken.
Yeah, but I don't want to say that it's like totally up to the person. I think leadership still plays a huge role in it. And I think the way that you can lead this person is by giving this person a lot of like heuristics or guidelines. And and when I say leadership, there's actually a lot of, I would say, emotional blockers that you have to remove, which is natural in most people. Let's say, for example, maybe some people have this preconceived notion that they cannot do something that's beyond their scope. So you'll have to like keep a close tab on it. So you need to have like really good observational skills. And then you need to have like very honest one-on-one conversations with them, like really ask them sincerely, oh, I noticed that whenever you did this, this happens to you, like you trip in this particular situation, like what's going on, right? So you have this like honest conversation. They reveal to you where they are uniquely struggling on, because for each and every person they struggle in different things. So when I say that you want to empower people, it's not like, okay, do this, bye. So it's not like that. Like you want to keep a close tab as much as possible, which is much harder right now in a remote work setting. So at least what I do is that um there shouldn't be as much as possible any private channels. So everything needs to be seen. Like I need to be in all of the client channels. So all 20 plus of our clients, I'm there. So I'm like observing every now and then. And then I have a conversation with them separately. Like, hey, this is what I've noticed. This is what you can do in order to improve the relationship. Because at least what I have is that I also have some experience managing clients. So yeah, I was able to help them out in that respect. So yeah, that's one thing. Like really removing emotional blockers, but at the same time you also want to feed their passion, because I think for each and every person they have very different interests. So some people are more interested in building relationships with certain types of people. Some people want more analytical work. Some want to do programming. Some want to be a very strong specialist in a particular channel. Like they only want to look at Facebook ads only. So what I do is that for each and every person, I try to customize their own career path. So one guy does a bit of Python, and then one guy she's undergoing some leadership training right now. So I actually pay for some workshops just for her. And then for this other person, I do something else. So literally everyone is like treated special. I think that's the point. Like you want to individualize and customize for each and every person. I think in your company, which is difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
Question.